Hello, hello. Microsoft is still giving me some issues, so I don't think it's going to let me use the highlighter or the little red presenting dot or anything else during this, so just bear with me when we're talking about different areas of the skull. But regardless, today we're talking about early hominins. There are a lot more early hominins than the ones we're going to talk about today. It would take a really long time to get through all of them, so we're going to focus on ones that are a little bit more influential and that we have more information about. So starting off, we're going to talk about the Australopithecines. Now, there are actually two subspecies that are very popular within Australopithecines and that have given us a lot of information about the evolution of humans. And these are Australopithecus afarensis. They were around 3.9 to 2.9 million years ago, and Australopithecus africanus, which they were around 3.3 to 2.1 years ago. As always, these dates are debated, and they change as we learn more and uncover more fossils. Now, these two subspecies are extremely similar. You can see here in the skulls, they don't look that incredibly different. Now, afarensis, they were typically found more in Eastern Africa. The typecast specimen for this species is Lucy, which we talked about before. And the reason Lucy is the typecast is because she is actually the most complete Australopithecus skeleton that has been found, which was a huge deal. But you can see that there is some post-orbital constriction. So if you look, yeah, it's not going to let me do the PowerPoint pointer. That's okay. If you look right behind the eye orbits, you can see that the skull kind of tapers down into it. And we call this a post-orbital constriction. They also had a flat nose, a very strongly projecting lower jaw, otherwise known as prognathism, and a brain case around 500 cc's. When we get to Africanus, these are generally found more in South Africa, and the first ancestor fossil was discovered by Raymond Dart in 1924. The typecast for this subspecies is the Tong child. This is a very popular specimen. You can read more about it on your own time. It's very interesting. And of course, it's very similar to afarensis. Their brain was about 420 to 510 cc's. The biggest difference between these two are the areas of Africa that they are found in. Now, if we move on to paranthropines, all paranthropines have this wide dish-shaped face. That is a very standard characteristic of them. They also tend to have very large temporal muscles, which are located underneath the zygomatic arches. If you look at the very bottom skull, you can see that kind of arch coming off the side above the mandible, around the eyes. That is the zygomatic arch. We can also tell that they had large temporal muscles because they do have this sagittal crest, so that little kind of bar at the very top of their heads, all indicators that they have very strong jaws. Now within paranthropines, we have Aethiopicus. I'm not entirely sure how to say this one. Read it, say it however you want in your own head. It's fine. These were around 2.5 million years ago. They had a pretty protruding face, megadont teeth, a powerful jaw, and then a sagittal crest, and a brain case around 410 cc's. This megadont teeth just means that they were very blocky, very thick, just really chunky. There was also Paranthropine robustus around 1.8 to 1.2 million years ago. They had the same kind of thing, a slightly larger zygomatic arch, and a brain case of about 530 cc's. The most popular of the paranthropines is boisei. These ones were around 2.3 to 1.2 million years ago. They have a very strong sagittal crest, the megadont teeth again. Their zygomatic arches flare out just a little bit more, and then their brain cases were slightly flatter, but it was actually bigger at 500 to 550 cc's. And finally, we get to early Homo. These are not what you think of when we are talking about like anatomically modern humans. These are very early human ancestors that just happen to be placed into the Homo genus. So starting off, we have Homo habilis. That is spelled incorrectly, please ignore. And they were around 2.4 to 1.4 million years ago. They are the oldest species included in the genus Homo. Some people argue that they should not be included. Some people argue that we should include some species before Homo habilis. But as far as taxonomy is concerned today, we consider Homo habilis the first genus in Homo. They still had the sagittal crest, but it was significantly smaller than we see in paranthropines. They also have a little bit of post-orbital constriction and a fairly prognathic face. When we're talking about prognathism, we're actually talking about how your face projects out. Typically, most of that will be with your mandible. But Homo habilis had a brain case of around 500 to 800 cc's. Now, within these ideas of human evolution specifically, there are two main methods or theories of how this occurred. So there's gradualism, which is the hypothesis that evolution proceeds chiefly by the accumulation of gradual changes. So essentially, this is just the idea that over time, things slowly adapt to their environments in little tiny ways, gradual changes. Eventually, those gradual changes accumulate into larger ones, into multiple different species that look different and have varying characteristics. But there's also this idea of punctuated equilibrium. So this hypothesis states that evolutionary development is marked by isolated episodes of rapid speciation between long periods of little or no change. So basically, the idea with punctuated equilibrium is that there is periods of rapid change and speciation, and then there are periods in between where there is little or no change, where things are kind of in a mode of stasis. These are debated a lot. The fossil record doesn't really perfectly indicate either one of them. Generally, we think of gradualism more, and we kind of base a lot of taxonomy and things like that on it, with the idea that we are obviously missing some intermediate human ancestors in the course of our evolution, either because they haven't been discovered yet and uncovered, or because they just don't exist through poor preservation. Obviously, the older back that you go in the fossil record, the less of each type of fossil you're going to have, because of things like natural disasters and people destroying stuff without realizing what it is, but also because not everything fossilizes. And the older something is, the less chance it is managed to be preserved. Not as a fossil. Fossils obviously take a very long time to form. Typically, once it's fossilized, it's okay. But like I said, you get a lot of human interaction that can impact that a lot of looting of sites. Humans are also just kind of weird. We, for instance, had a lot more mummies than we think of. The only reason we don't is because Victorian people thought it was like a party gimmick for rich people to eat them. I don't know. Other cultures would use mummies and like powder them for medicine. Humans are just kind of weird. Punctuated equilibrium, the fossil record does not support this as well. But that's kind of because it's hard to prove this. It's really hard to define when exactly speciation is actually occurring or not if you don't have the fossils to provide evidence for it. But a lot of researchers think that these should be kind of combined to a new theory, which I myself agree with because I don't think it's the whole scheme of evolution is as simple as only being a gradual change or only being punctuated episodes of speciation. Regardless, this link at the top here is for your homework. There's another link to this on Blackboard itself. And then the second link, this early human ancestors, is a video that you guys should watch. It will go into more detail about brain sizes and what kind of makes something qualified to be put into the genus Homo. That is all I have for you this week. You guys should have some more grades back. Obviously, this is an ongoing process, but hopefully by next week, by the end of next week, you guys will have a lot more of your grades back. By the time you guys are presenting and doing that kind of stuff, I should be pretty well caught up. I have had a couple people message me about questions on how to record their presentation videos. So what I want for you to do is to record where I can see your face, but also your presentation. And obviously, I need to be able to hear what you're saying. I am not super tech savvy, so I don't have a lot of information to help you. What I can tell you is I personally use Teams to record these. And with Teams, there is, once you sign in, which everybody that is a WSU student has access to Teams for free through Office 365. All you have to do is log in with your student email and then your password. Super easy. But with Teams, what you do is you go to record a video. Once you're in your video, there is a share tab up in the right kind of upper corner. If you click on that, it will let you either share, like screen share a tab on your computer, so you can have another file open, or you can actually share a file from your Microsoft account or Google Slides or whatever. I do recommend sharing it through Microsoft or Google Slides. Makes it a little bit more cohesive, and you can actually present. If you try and present with a tab, you won't be able to see what's going on in Teams. But once you do that, there is another button that's a little bit more in the middle that is actually titled More. It's got 3 little dots. When you click on that, it will have a record video option, and you can record the entire thing, presentation, and your face as you present all at once. Now, when you're done with this, you can click on it to kind of review your video after you leave. It'll take you to another tab, and you can download your video from there. The problem with Teams is if you make edits to your video while you're reviewing it, Teams will not save those when you download it. So if you're going to edit your video, I do recommend saving it to your computer first and then uploading it into a video up. I can't talk tonight. I recommend uploading it into a video editing software or program. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. Do not spend any money on them. There are plenty of free ones. I prefer Clipchamp. I think it's pretty easy to use, and it works well with Microsoft stuff. It's also free. And then you can just download it from there. It'll save all your edits. When you go to submit, please make sure that you save it as an MP4 file before you submit so that I don't have to message you later asking for access through your Microsoft account or anything like that. Also be careful because I've had students in the past submit these as PDFs. Obviously, I cannot watch your video if it is saved as a PDF, so just save it as an MP4. If you can't get that to work, you can also upload it onto YouTube and then send me the link to that. If you don't want everyone to see, that's fine. You can make it a private video and then send me the link to that private video, so then I will be the only one that can see that. Either way, it is up to you. If you use another software to record your video, like PowerPoint itself or Zoom or whatever else you choose to do, I won't be able to help you if you have questions because I don't use those. But if you have any questions regarding anything else, of course, reach out to me. Do remember that your presentations only have to be 3 to 5 minutes long. I'm obviously not going to take points off if you go slightly over 5 minutes, but try not to do like a minute or more over. It does need to be at least 3 minutes long, though. So you will lose points if it does not at least hit that 3-minute mark, which should be pretty easy to do with all of the information that you have to include. Let's see. I am going to try and get the video for Lab 12 to you guys tomorrow, which is Thursday, so that you guys can hopefully kind of get on all of that. And we'll discuss more about the last few due dates that we have towards this last half of the semester, or last quarter, 8th, whatever you want to call it, these last few weeks. I was going to say something and I forgot.